You've probably been told this your whole life, that you overthink, that you're too sensitive, that you read too much into things. While the world moves casually, reacting only to what's obvious, you're already 3 steps ahead, noticing shifts in tone, tension in silence, meaning behind words that were never said. And at some point, you started wondering, why am I like this? Why does your mind refuse to switch off? Why do you feel things so deeply, so quickly, sometimes before anyone else even notices something is wrong? Why does walking into a room feel like scanning 1,000 invisible signals all at once? Here's the truth most people never hear. You didn't become this way by accident. You were trained, not in a classroom, not through books, but through experiences that forced your brain to adapt early, to read people, predict outcomes, and stay alert just to feel safe. What you've been calling anxiety might actually be a rare form of intelligence. And once you understand what's really happening inside your nervous system, you'll stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking a very different question. What exactly did my mind learn to survive? Psychology has a name for this pattern, and it's not a disorder. It's called traumatic intelligence, a form of cognitive and emotional adaptation shaped by early environments that were unpredictable, intense, or psychologically complex. While most people developed awareness gradually, through stable and safe conditions, your nervous system was calibrated differently. It had to become precise, fast, and hyper-attuned, because missing a signal wasn't just uncomfortable, it could mean being caught off guard. This is where the science becomes clear. The amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for detecting threat and emotional significance, becomes highly sensitized under repeated stress. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the system responsible for analysis, prediction, and decision-making, develops stronger pattern recognition pathways. And underneath all of this, your brain is running on a very specific chemical balance. Elevated cortisol keeps you alert, scanning, ready, while acetylcholine sharpens your focus, allowing you to process subtle details most people miss. So while the world labels you as too much, the reality is far more precise. You became accurate. You became adaptive. You became someone whose mind learned early that survival depends on understanding people better than they understand themselves. The first sign appears before anything is even said. You walk into a room and your body shifts. There's a subtle alertness, a quiet scanning. You notice posture, micro-expressions, the smallest change in tone. While others rely on words, you read patterns. This isn't intuition in a mystical sense. It's your nervous system, trained early, extracting emotional data in real time because at some point that awareness kept you safe. The second sign is something psychologists call hyperempathy. You don't just hear people, you feel them. You notice when someone says, "I'm fine," but something underneath doesn't match. While others take words at face value, you track inconsistencies. This often develops in environments where understanding others wasn't optional, it was necessary. Your brain learned that emotional accuracy reduces uncertainty. Third, under pressure, you don't collapse, you organize. When situations become chaotic, something in you becomes precise, almost calm. This is known as stress inoculation. Repeated exposure to high-stakes environments calibrates the nervous system. While others experience overwhelm, your system recognizes the pattern and shifts into strategy mode. Fourth, your mind doesn't let go easily. You replay conversations, analyze behavior, search for meaning behind actions others dismiss. This step isn't overthinking, it's adaptive pattern analysis. When behavior around you was unpredictable, your brain compensated by studying it. You became a constant observer of human nature. Fifth, these traits are not random. Perceptiveness, empathy, analysis. They are coordinated adaptations. The brain doesn't develop in isolation. It responds to environment. What looks like too much is actually a system that learned to process more. Sixth, you rely on yourself in ways that surprise people. You don't wait for rescue. You build solutions quietly. When early support felt inconsistent, the brain internalized one rule: depend on yourself. What others call independence is, for you, structural. Seventh, your emotional range runs deeper than most. Music, injustice, small gestures, they affect you intensely. The amygdala, repeatedly activated, becomes finely tuned. You don't just observe experiences, you absorb them. Eighth, trust is not immediate for you. It's measured. This is adaptive skepticism. Your brain learned that not all signals are safe, so it built filters. While this can feel isolating, it also means that when you do trust, it's stable, intentional, and resilient. Ninth, stillness can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. When everything slows down, your mind doesn't always rest. It scans inward. This is your nervous system maintaining vigilance. Learning to rest isn't natural here. It's something that must be practiced, consciously. And the 10th sign is the most defining. You carry a sense of meaning that isn't superficial. You've examined pain, yours and others, and refused to see it as random. This aligns with what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. Many individuals who navigate adversity don't just recover. They develop a deeper clarity about what matters and why. So while the world sees fragments, sensitivity, overthinking, distance, the full picture is something else entirely. It's a mind that adapted early and adapted well. So what the world labeled as too sensitive is actually precision. What they called overthinking is advanced pattern recognition. What they dismissed as trust issues is calibrated filtering built from real experience. While others moved through life assuming safety, your nervous system learned to verify it. While they reacted, you anticipated. While they overlooked, you detected. That isn't dysfunction, that's refinement. Because when cortisol kept you alert and acetylcholine kept you focused, your brain wasn't breaking down, it was reorganizing. It was building a system that could process complexity, read nuance, and navigate uncertainty faster than average. And this is where the shift happens. The very thing that made you feel different is the same thing that gives you an edge in understanding people, solving problems, and seeing what others miss. You weren't too much. You were trained for depth in a world that rewards surface. And once you stop trying to suppress that depth, it stops feeling like a burden and starts functioning like a superpower. So the question isn't whether your mind adapted, it clearly did. The real question is what you choose to do with that awareness now. Because understanding this changes the narrative completely. You're no longer someone trying to fix yourself. You're someone learning how to regulate, direct, and use what was built under pressure. And that starts with something simple but powerful. Learning to tell your nervous system that it's safe to slow down. That not every silence needs to be analyzed. That not every moment requires prediction. You don't lose your intelligence by resting, you refine it. And if this resonated, then maybe, just maybe, you were never broken. You were just trained differently.